Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here for this second day of the week. It's Tuesday. I can even tell you the date, August 23rd. I can't believe it. Are you serious? Little McEnroe. Are you serious? You cannot be serious. It cannot be August 23rd already. It is. High school football already has game one in the books. That's nuts. Game two coming up. It's already Tuesday. I mean, wow. Those guys will be into the second game of their season like that. That blows my mind. Oh man. Last night. We'll get to all that. Welcome aboard, of course, brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda, number one Honda dealer around, and Endeavor Hospitality, Wow Club. Make sure you go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store and sign up and join the Wow Club today. It is free and cost you nothing. They'll just send you some good stuff, but I'm going to have to tell them to start sending me some better stuff. I'm headed out to BB's today. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to that. After the show, I've got a meeting there, but I can't wait. Check out their breakfast menu if you're in and around here, the area that you can go visit, because it's pretty incredible, just in and of itself. So I cannot wait to dig into some of that. But also, I can't the meats. Oh yeah, these big old fatties, as I like to call them, the steaks. Got to check all that out. But we're going to start planning our Fridays, baby. Our Friday touchdown tailgate. There we go. Touchdown tailgate. I like that. So our touchdown tailgate show. How about that? Now, how many of you out there consider? I know a lot of you guys are grillers. We'll see how many of you are cooks. I cook. I consider myself a cook, man. I'm not a trained chef. But I like to dabble. I like to have fun. I like to grill. I like to make stuff. And now I'm going to learn how to make some stuff. That'd be cool. So looking forward to starting that, which will be soon, as that's right around the corner. Not only that, Don Fisher. Let's see, what is next week? Next Monday starts Don Fisher, joining us each and every Monday. So 1 week away from that, looking forward to that. So all kinds of good things coming up. The coaches shows, Indiana football coaches show coming to you from Southern Stone Restaurant. That starts next Wednesday as well, I believe, Wednesday night. So all kinds of stuff going on. Wyatt says Pujols hit a home run number 693 last night. Putting it on, that's a lot. Jordan Montgomery pitched a one-hit complete game, now has an 0.35 ERA with the Cards. Wow, what a way to start the 5-game series with the Cubs. Yeah, you ought to take advantage of that, beating up on somebody. But 693, man, that's rare air. Are you kidding me? I mean, to me, the number is 715. Will always be. Hank Aaron said it, without the use of steroids, without the use of PEDs, and I don't believe he ever hit more than 50 home runs in a single season. How about that? Just good, consistent play. Bill Anderson saying hello, or Bill A saying hello up in the UP, eh? Pretty close to Canada. Yeah, beautiful up there. I bet it is chilly in the mornings, chilly at night, and just beautiful during the day. Wyatt on with us, giving us that information on Pujols. Justin B says, hello, peeps. Same with John C. Michael, the music man. Five Lefts is already on. Hey, Travis. Hadn't been on for a minute. Larry S. heading back. He's back down in South Georgia, I assume. Dwayne B. down in Evansville area. Home of the Ref. 97.7 the Ref. Always the right call. Home of the Cardinals. Where you can listen to the Cardinals postseason as they are heading that way, it looks like to me. What do we have here? 5-game lead, baby. Wow. How long ago was it? They were like 2.5 games back. They've won 8 straight. They've won it. The Cardinals have won 8 straight and 9 out of their last 10, while the Brewers are playing 500 ball. That is not a good recipe. Bye-bye, Milwaukee. And they will not be playing in the postseason period because the Braves have won more games. The Braves, who are in second place, no doubt, by 3 games. The Braves are 3 games back of the Mets, but they've won more games. The Cardinals would be like 3 or 4 games back of the Braves. They've won 76 games compared to Cardinals 70 wins. Now, let's see. That's one wild card spot. The Phillies right now have the other wild card spot. And then the Padres. Actually, it's the Phillies and the Brewers fighting it out, but the Phillies look to have a 2-game lead over Milwaukee, and Milwaukee is stinking. But Phillies are 4-6 in their last 10 games. There's that. Over in the American League, it's the Yankees still atop the AL East with an 8-game lead. They've won 2 in a row now. Only 4 out of their last 10. But while the Tampa Bay Rays, they've won 3 in a row, 8 out of their last 10. They're trying to make a run, man. They're trying to make this exciting. Wouldn't that be something to see that? 66. Yeah, they're going to easily be in the playoffs no matter what. Mariners back into the play, trying to get back into the playoffs. They're second in the AL West with 66 wins. Again, both second place teams in the other division, more wins than the leader in the area AL Central, the Guardians of Cleveland. But St. Louis, they're flying, man. I know we got a lot of Cubs fans, so they're flying high. The Reds are just kind of hanging in there. Pirates, man, the bottom of the National League Central, and not as bad in the American League Central, but the bottom 2 teams, terrible. The bottom 2 and 3, the bottom 2 teams of the American League Central, bottom 3 teams of the National League Central, some of the worst. Well, no, you get the Nationals. How's everybody else doing, man? Tim's on already. He's looking. What do you think this is? Swap shop? He's looking for a four-door Jeep Wrangler. Anybody know of a deal on one? Thinks we're on Swap Shop. Robert P. He's an Evans patch, as he affectionately calls it. List again, 97.7 The Ref. You catch us each day down there on the ESPN station. Carries the Cardinals and the Hoosiers. Catch the Hoosiers. Football and basketball on the Ref as well. It's coming up. He missed me in class last night. I'm missing that one. You like to explain that one to me. Explainer to me. Yes, Cody Zeller, I saw that. Engaged. Congratulations to him. So yeah, I did see that. Wyatt's Pride. He's looked at tickets for North Carolina, the IU game. The cheapest ticket is $422 right now. If they don't drop, which I suspect they will. Don't know if he'll be making it. Well, they're not going to drop prior to the game because and worst case is North Carolina is going to be good. We know that. Indiana should be good. No reason that they probably won't maybe go up. Oh, yeah, there you go. Tebow pulling for the Phillies and Schwarbs. They should make it. He just needs to keep hitting dingers, baby. John C. Yeah, that was a tough loss for Hagerstown in the League World Series last night, but Peebo feels a little bad for him. They play at 3 today in the losers bracket. But yeah, here's the deal. I was screaming. I was so mad. They had the bases loaded. They give up the tying and the leading run to Tennessee. I think that was in the 5th or 6th inning. But in the bottom of the 6th, here comes Indiana again. They come at it. They get the first guy on. The next thing you know, they're lighting the pitcher up. Couple of shots. As a matter of fact, the second single was just a laser that had he had just this much, and I'm 2 inches, a more trajectory on that ball, it goes out as hard as he hit it. And the game is over. That's a walk-off. But they end up getting the bases loaded, score the tying run, still bases loaded, no outs. I'm screaming bunt. Screaming bunt. Because I don't care. I'm like, there's no way. Make them make plays. And boy, they didn't. And guess what? They got sat down. I would have pulled out everything to get that run across. I was literally screaming, but pitch hit, anything. I don't care. I'd have the guy on first base get into a rundown because kids are not always thinking. I would have done anything to get that run across because I knew the second they did not, that it was over. And it was, as Tennessee would go on to score 3 runs in the top of the 7th, I believe. But golly, it was aggravating. It was right there. They had it. So you lose that game, man, it's tough to come back. It's tough to come back from that. It's heartbreaking. And now you know that you lose a game and you're gone. So, but oh well. John, we appreciate you, brother. I hope you're doing well. John L. Was it Is the background supposed to change?
He's referring to the fact that you said you'd be moving yesterday.
Well, I didn't say I was going to be moving yesterday, but I'm going to be moving. Yes. Yesterday, I said I'm going to be moving, but I didn't say I'm going to be moving yesterday.
He must have misunderstood.
Steve R. says hello. How are you doing, brother? We appreciate everybody jumping on saying hello. That's right, John. We appreciate you. Smash that like button. We appreciate all the good folks. Yes,
Break.
karate. Hey, we got to take a big break, or a short break, actually. The King, Mike DeCourcy, coming up next. Hall of Famer, actually. We'll king him later. Maybe knight him first. I'll have to get a sword and do that. Hey, we got lots more coming up. Indiana Sports Meet brought to you by our great friends from BB's Market, your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer. No matter where you live, with some of the best custom meats around, BB's Market has the largest variety of in-house made products that you'll find around here as well. You can go to online ordering. Visit bbsmarket.com. They have been in the family. Those recipes have been in the family. Many of the recipes have been in the family for over 40 years. Forgot about that. Visit bbsmarket.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio and Mike DeCourcy right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting... Hello, Mike DeCourcy.
What's going on, Jim?
Nothing. I woke up.
What did you do? You punt Dustin? Where's he?
I don't know where
He'll be on shortly.
I woke up, so it's at least a semi good day.
Do I seem louder than normal? Maybe it's just my headphones.
You always seem loud to me.
Sound like the same to me.
Okay, that's good.
Mikey, what is your latest? I know you got Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that's all I've done in the last.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't have anything more recent. I just don't like missing the recent stuff.
Working on a couple long-term things, so I haven't
talked about that a lot either.
No?
Not yet. Because they finally reached an agreement.
Yeah, he's out for 11 games and fined $5 million.
There's Dustin Schutte.
Good morning.
Good morning, Starshine.
Look at him, Mr. Gator.
I got multiple colleges going today. Well, I guess that doesn't say.
Is that UCF down there?
No, Manchester. It's where I went to school.
Oh, okay. I don't think we ever had this much silence in between breaks. You know how to clear a room, Dustin.
I do know. I've been known to do that.
All right, we're back in 30 seconds.
Hey, this is John, the producer with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. I hope you're having a good start to your week. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News joins us, as is Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com. I hope everyone's having a good start to the week, man. I was talking about the Little League World Series. Drove me nuts last night. Man, they had their opportunities, bases loaded. They score the tying run, bottom of the sixth. They got bases loaded and no outs, and I'm just screaming, bunt. It's little league. Make them make a play. They're not gonna make 3 plays in a row and nothing. Went down. They go down. They don't get the run across the board, and I knew as soon as that didn't happen, I'm like, oh gosh. And then Tennessee scores 3 runs immediately after that, and it was over. But oh well, it was. It's a double elimination, so they still got another one. But once you get that first loss, man, that just takes so much air out of you.
My wife was really struggling with the concept of double elimination this morning. She didn't get it. That's new to her.
Well, you ought to try it for the state tournament in Kentucky, like they do over in Kentucky. There's part of theirs is a double elimination. Yeah, you can lose and not be out of the state tournament.
In baseball?
In basketball. In basketball.
Wow, that's surprising.
It is weird. It's like they have districts and regions.
Right.
You can like be a top 2 in the district or something, which means lose and move on to the region.
Now, I will say that in the state of Pennsylvania, you can lose in advance to the state championship. That's often been the case since I was in high school. Each district gets a particular number of advancers into the state playoffs depending on size. So smaller district might only get their champion. Next size district might get their 2 finalists. The district where I came from, which is known as the WPIL, is bigger than a lot of state associations. So in certain classifications, they get 6 or 7 back when I was around. I'm not sure whether they've split since into like 6 different. They only had 3 or 4 when I was covering. So now I don't know how many they get, but it's always been that way for them. So I guess I kind of get that whole Kentucky thing. I'm not sure if it's structured quite the same.
It's very interesting. I've never even heard of that. But back to has bunting completely gone away? Not completely gone away, but it's so minimalized now in baseball all over. Like, I don't think the Braves have sacrificed bunt all season. I don't think they've laid one down all season. Like, it's incredible. And the other night I was screaming at my TV because it was a 1-1 or 2-2 game with a runner at second base, nobody out. And I'm like, just lay down the bunt. If you can get 1 run across, you're going to win this thing in the 9th inning. It's a new phenomenon. Like I watch the Braves. I watch a little bit of other baseball outside of that. But I mean, I remember it seemed like every other inning there was somebody laying down a sacrifice bunt. I know the DH has kind of changed that, but it's crazy to me how it's trickled down to all levels of baseball now.
It's not just the designated hitter, although that's a big part of it, but it's also the concept analytically that giving up an out isn't worth it. And I understand that, but the original Moneyball concept was all about exploiting inefficiency. They don't do that anymore in baseball. Shift over, you shift 3 fielders to the right side and have no one on the left side. There's an inefficiency there, folks. There's nobody there. So if you laid down a bunt, there's nobody to field it. If you just went the opposite way, there's nobody to field it. But nobody does that. So the idea of Moneyball is really not what it was then. Now it's all just the numbers say this this is what we do. And when every single major league team, all 30, do the exact same thing, you're not exploiting inefficiency anymore. You're just going with the flow. And if you're bad at it, as the Pirates and the Reds and so many other teams are, it doesn't make you any better. You're not. That's like the Cardinals of the 80s. The inefficiency was, we're fast, you're not. You can't catch us. You can't stop us from running. And so they won. They won huge number of games, and they got to the World Series, won a World Series. That was their exploiting the inefficiency. They had the big ballpark with the carpet, so if they could hit the ball on the ground, there was a chance it would get through, all that stuff. Nobody in baseball does anything different now. And I don't think, even in football, okay, so everybody has the same basic concept on offense, but they're all doing it a little differently because of personnel and ideas. And defensively, there are lots of different things they do. But in baseball, everybody does the same things. And that's one of the reasons why it's become, in addition to the huge differences in money, one of the reasons it becomes so stratified is that everybody does the same things. Everybody tries to hit home runs and strike guys out. And nobody says, we're going to play a little differently. We're going to develop our players a little differently. And when they get to the bigs, no one's going to be ready for it, because they're going to try to shift on us, and we're going to put the ball down the opposite side or whatever else that you might do. No one does that anymore in baseball, because the hilarious thing about it is the reason they don't do those things is because they're afraid they'll get laughed at or criticized for not following the convention.
Right. Speaking, I'm glad you said, the shift. I hate the shift. I every time I see that, I'm just like, just lay down a bunt. Just lay down a bunt. And I never understand why they don't. I mean, I would literally just try to block the ball to that side of the field. There is nobody there. But they don't. So
that's exactly how the Braves beat the Astros the other night. It was Matt Olson had a check swing single because it went through between third base and second base. And then they put the shift on the opposite side, and it was it was soft contact rolling through. It's just crazy to me. And like, to that point, it's like the evolution of sports almost, because at that same level, I feel like maybe not so much in college basketball as much, but in the NBA, I mean, it's almost become basically a 3-point league because of what Mike talked about, in that the analytics mean so much, and you don't see guys taking the mid-range jumpers, or it's either everything's at the basket or it's from 3-point land. And it's just interesting, because that's something I didn't think of until Mike brought up the football analogy, is that sports shift to, it's almost everybody's trying to set the trend and follow in everybody's footsteps, but it doesn't help if you don't have 3-point shooters. It doesn't help if you don't have a good quarterback. That sort of stuff is just it's wild to see everybody kind of do the same thing across major sports.
Look, nobody throws the ball in the post on offense anymore,
right?
In the NBA at all. College, we still see it. The blue ribbon, interesting, adjacency to what you just said. The blue ribbon just came out with their All-America team for the 2022-23 season. The Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook, published by my friend Chris Dortch. Their 2023 All-America team preseason, 5 players, 4 centers. 4 centers. Trace, it's still considered a center until we see otherwise. I mean, he's a low post guy until he shows. I think he will, but we got to see it. You've got Drew Timme from Gonzaga. You've got obviously at Kentucky. You've got the national reigning player of the year. You've got Armando Bacot at Carolina. Those are your 5. And that shows what a change there's been in basketball over the last 20 years, because in 2002 it was Sporting News had 5 guards. Steve Logan from Cincinnati was one of them. I think Jason Williams from Duke, Juan Dixon, who Dane Fife will tell you all about how he shut him down. No, he's pretty humble about that. And So you'll see all those different guards on that 2002 All-America team. Dan Dickau from Gonzaga, because all the big guys were so coveted by the NBA, they were all gone, and the guards were dominating. And now the big guys, they don't want anything to do with them. Kofi Coburn just went undrafted, even though he's 7 feet and immovable. And so now you've got this complete shift to big guys in college. It's just an amazing thing to see how much the game changes over 20 years.
Do you think that's going to become cyclical, where at some point there's going to be a coach or a system that comes along that values low post play again? Or do you think that those days are gone? I feel like if you can be creative on offense and maybe not as dominant as guys like, Shaq, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, maybe not those days, but is there, a way that circles back to where the low post becomes, I don't want to say dominant again, but becomes relevant again?
I think it's a difficult thing to see coming back, because you'd have to see some, like if we got a player like a David Robinson, but remember, David was not the smoothest low post scorer. Right. He was good one-on-one, but he didn't beat double teams in the way that Kareem did or Shaq did with sheer power. He was more of a dynamic player who rebounded, who ran, who defended, and who, when given space, could beat a guy singled up. But he was not a double team. He was not somebody who beat double teams. If you look at Patrick Ewing and Hakeem, those guys gradually built their games so that they could face up and score away from the goal more often. Patrick Ewing was not the smoothest low post scorer at Georgetown, develops a dynamite 14, 16-foot jump shot and becomes a Hall of Famer that way. So the guys who really are great at low post scoring, like Shaq or like Kareem, have been pretty rare over time. And so it's hard to see that happening because it's really been, now we've seen guys who are smaller guys like an Adrian Dantley or someone like that who really had that gift. And AD ended up scoring over 20,000 points. And I think he's in the Hall of Fame now. If he's not, he should be. I don't know whether we'll ever see those guys really get a chance to do what they do. But we see, one of the things that we see a little bit in regards to the post is guys like Jalen Brunson, who are, point guards, who, given all the space that's created by the emphasis on 3-point shooting, will go inside and sometimes score over the players they defend. But that's a change up, basically. That's not a steady diet kind of thing. So it would have to be a really special, extraordinary player, a guy who can really move on defense and then has that innate skill. And I think over time, one of the things that American basketball has fallen behind in training big guys to do the kinds of things, the kinds of skills. We've always been behind in those things, but now they matter. Before you'd say that doesn't matter because he's going to beat you at the rim and he's going to block shots. A guy like James Wiseman, who's kind of had really flat career development, it punted his college career, which I didn't think was a good idea. He should have come back when the door was open so that he could have gotten better. So he comes into the NBA with no training at all, basically. And so he winds up coming into the NBA and not ready to play. And then he gets hurt. And so he's got a ring, but he hasn't done anything. And he's too talented to not have made any impact at all in the NBA so far in his career. So we've fallen behind in that department. And like I said, we've always been behind in that department, but the strength at the rim doesn't matter as much now. So whoever the next James Wiseman is has to make up that ground. And the people who train him on the way to college in the NBA have to do a better job of teaching them to be like Giannis with that skill level, or even some of the other somebody like Jokic. I know it's unusual to be as skilled as he is, but our guys aren't even on, like, they don't do the rudimentary stuff he does, let alone the advanced stuff he does.
Yeah.
Well, the baseball race as we get closer, Mike. I was just joking or making light of the central divisions in both leagues. How boy, you could take the Royals and the Tigers and the Pirates and the Reds and the Cubs, boy, and the Nationals. Maybe put them in the College World Series. I'm just kidding. Just teasing. But yeah, it's like, man, will those clubs ever, is Cincinnati ever going to be able to compete?
Well, the Reds and the Pirates, it's set up for them to not be able to compete. It's everything in Major League Baseball is stacked against them with the disparity in income, and they have incentivized doing what the Pirates in particular have done, which is just say, you know what, we're going to build with kids, and they're constantly building with kids, and they're constantly losing. And they've had, I think, 3 winning seasons in the last 30 years, something like that, maybe 4. It's dreadful, but it makes a fortune for the Pirates with the way things are now. With a little bit more revenue sharing, all that revenue sharing goes in the pocket. They don't have to spend it on player payroll. But I have literally zero sympathy at this point for teams like the Pirates and Reds. The fans, yeah, but the Pirates and the Reds as teams, I don't have any sympathy for them at all because there was a lockout last autumn, stretched into the winter, and we never heard anything from those clubs saying we need a new system. This system stinks for us. And at the end of the day, what you're seeing is the reason they don't care is because they make a lot of money. Even with their ballparks not full and their fans disengaged, they still make a lot of money because, the Pirates spent like $30 million on payroll. That's less than half what the Penguins pay for their players. Basically less than half of what so NHL, fewer players on the roster, like maybe a quarter of the income, probably less than that in terms of revenue league wide. And yet the Penguins pay their players more because they have a salary cap says this is where the base is. The Penguins are at the cap level, which is obviously considerably higher because they want to win. And that's the difference. There is no bottom in baseball. You can pay 30 players or 28 players or whatever it is. 26 is the active roster, but obviously you're going to have more guys filter through. But whatever it is, you can pay them all a minimum, and no one can stop you. And that's basically more or less the Pirates' approach. And I don't think the Reds are far behind from that. They overpaid this year for some guys that they brought in late, but they clearly were deconstructing their roster with the moves they made last winter.
We've got to take a break. I can't believe we went over. Shocker. Hey, we've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing, one of the new offshoots of the WOW Club. You can stop by Metalworks, located just off of the square in Bloomington near Cabello, locally owned and operated by Endeavor Hospitality. Launched from a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing right off the square. Part of the WOW Club. Make sure you go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store and join that. We're back with more with Mike DeCourcy and Dustin Schutte here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out.
Sam Joaquin from Claremont, Florida. Lake Ridge Winery, baby.
What? Lake Ridge? Is that where the Lake Ridge Winery is?
Yep.
Sam's a great listener.
They work from his Sultan of Invisalign.
They work with San Sebastian and St. Augustine.
Boy, I should have had him do me some Invisalign, some Invisalign. Mike, what is up next? Let's see. Well, I know we'll talk about Deshaun, but what's up next after that?
Yeah, I'm working on a piece in advance of the college football season that will appear early next week about a specific rivalry that I'll keep it unnamed so nobody beats me to the punch.
Oh boy, that's signing up for disaster.
Are you not a fan of dentists?
Oh no. Maybe he was talking to Jim in terms of the Invisalign. I thought he was talking about me and the wine. That would have been a problem.
What did he say? What did I miss?
Come on down. We'll take care of you.
Yeah. Wish I would have met him about 25 years ago.
All right, here we go.
How would that be much prettier? Buyers on all 2017 through 2021 Honda certified pre-owned Accords, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. It's beautiful outside, man. This has been an incredible month. I've talked about that. Just been spectacular. I can't believe high school football. We're heading into week 2. Mike.
It's amazing to me that football season starts so early now. When I was in high school, we were like Labor Day, I think.
That's what I said. I'm like, man, I said this when they had the jamborees or whatever last week. I'm like, man, we were just going through 2-a-days yet right now. They had to make sure it was nice and hot. It was 88 degrees with 80% humidity. And so they turned that up. I'm like, y'all, this global warming is just killing it for you all. It's been so nice.
Yes, I remember how I haven't been around high school football for a while, but when I covered it, I remember how much the coaches would complain about a nice, cool day like this and how much they hated it because they wanted to sweat their guys as much as they could. So it has been a brutal winter, or excuse me, a brutal August for football coaches, but I'm sure the players aren't complaining.
You never know. There's always something. I haven't talked much about Deshaun Watson since the NFL. They appealed that, and they were going to. And first of all, this has to be a little bit of a slap at that judge. And the fact that it's a she. I hate to say that, but I'm like going. I'm glad that a judge is able to do things down the middle. First of all, any judge. But I'm like thinking, first of all, she wasn't down the damn middle. She wasn't even close to the middle. And she's a female. And I'm like going, was it because she's a female? Because I get that trying not to. The only person I ever threw out of a game when I was umpiring was my brother because of a high slide. And I was like, God, if I don't call that, do I, so there's a different there's a different feeling that comes on you. And boy, yeah, he was pissed. But I wonder about that. But anyway, so now they go from the paltry. What did she give him? 6 games.
6 games.
Yeah. So now they've reached an agreement for 11-game suspension and a $5 million fine, which will take him out for the first 2/3 of the season. But they have Baker Mayfield there.
No.
No, they're gone.
They traded, I guess, technically Baker Mayfield to the Carolina Panthers. So right now their quarterback.
Did the Panthers name Mayfield as a starter?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's what I saw that. I'm sorry.
Nope.
I saw that he had been named the starter, so my bad.
I think the Browns have Jacoby Brissett as who they're depending on. Yeah.
Yeah, and Josh Dobbs, the Steelers backup for the last 4 or 5 years, third stringer really, has been playing most of their exhibition games.
So that seemed to be a lot more palatable to people because when the first one came out, there was a great uproar, and when this came out, not a lot. It was just like, okay, it's better. I think they probably should have gone ahead and just made it the entire season. But
let me respond to that because with the way that Browns structured his contract, it was really a repulsive decision. Not only to trade for him and to give him $230 million, but to structure his contract in the way that they did, where to the point that his first year in Cleveland, he gets like a $40-some million signing bonus. So he's very well compensated for this year. But they structured his contract so that in being suspended this year, he's there for 5 years, and it's this year he makes whatever the minimum is, and I think it's 650-ish, right around 650,000, give or take. And so that's his first year. And then next year it's 46 million, I believe. Each of the next 4 years, 46 million. So that by being suspended this year, he only loses game checks worth $80,000 or something like that, somewhere in there. I'm not doing the math right. I'm sure there's an accountant out there saying, Mike, 600 divided by 11. No, not 80, but whatever. It's around that. So he loses the $5 million fine. But if he were losing 11 game checks on a $40 million salary, he would be losing much, much more. So they did this, and it makes you ill that they did it this way. And so if they had taken the full season, that year, that $650,000 year gets pushed into next year, which actually helps the Browns because it alleviates any salary cap distress brought on by that $43 million charge that they'll face next year. So when they get to the cap next year, they're going to have to do a lot of figuring out. It's going to be really hard for them. They've got very good players on very good contracts, and they may have to cut some of them. They may have to trade some of them. They're going to have some challenges to get him under their cap. We assume it'll raise $20 million over what it is now. At that figure, they are over on signed contracts for next year. They're already basically over the cap. So they're going to have a lot of tough decisions to make. So I was glad that it wasn't a full season. Now, if they'd made it 15 games, that would have been good. But 11, when she put her ruling out, and Jim, she is a former federal judge, so technically not a judge anymore, but former federal judge, Sue L. Robinson. She did a horrendous job on this. Terrible job. Indefensible. And so when she put 6 out there, I right away basically wrote down 10 games. If the appeal of that brings 10 games, it'll be a fair penalty. So they went one over that. So I am not displeased at all with what they said. It was easy for a lot of talk radio people to say, "Oh, it's terrible, it's not good enough." But you have to factor everything in. I mean, there was never going to be enough for what he did that was reasonably defensible. If they'd done 5 years, everybody would have been fine with it, but you would never get away with that. So to make it punitive for him, competitively and slightly financially, and punitive for the team that has made him an extraordinarily wealthy man despite everything that happened, I think that that's a reasonable solution.
I think I like that you brought reason and logic into this, because I feel like that gets lost a lot. Because I think you hit on something that kind of bothers me, and that is that it seems like whether you're in radio or whether you can put out a tweet, you can say something and say, this is horrible or whatever, it's not long enough, and everybody's probably going to agree. But the bottom line is, a lot of those people, they just put out the tweet, make the comment for their personal PR, and then they move on. There's nothing they're going to be able to do. That's kind of the vibe I get. I'm not saying we can all agree that what happened was not good, right? Like, everybody understands that part of it. But I just think that people get away too easily with just saying, oh, that's awful, should have been all year, should have been banned from the NFL. That's easy things to say, and it gets a lot of PR. So I don't think people anymore think about this stuff in a logical and how it's like the NFL keeps itself out of it for the most part. It's not the NFL making these decisions. It's, like you said, it's a former federal judge. It's other outside parties, because they've gotten into some serious hot water when they've tried to handle these situations themselves.
Yeah, that's why they built this apparatus with the independent person. I just don't think she did a very good job.
Right.
But it's interesting what you said, Dustin, about those basically hot takes that some get away with. There's a really fascinating documentary, if you get Netflix, that's out about the Manti Te'o situation from a decade.
I've seen that.
It's really good. And what was interesting to me, the part two, when they went to talking to the Deadspin journalists about their goal in doing the piece that they did that broke this all wide open. Their goal, according to the writer, I believe his name is Burke, Timothy Burke, I think. I believe he goes by Bubba Prague on Twitter. And he said his whole goal was to show the legacy media, the established media, that they need to do a better job of checking stuff.
Right.
And what was fascinating to me is, if you watched how legacy media, television, etc., television news, television talk shows, how they reacted to everything that developed from the Manti Te'o story. Those who don't remember or haven't seen the doc, he got catfished online, thought he had a girlfriend who didn't exist, who was actually a young man from Southern California who later transitioned, now lives as a trans woman, and how he at the time, now she catfished Manti Te'o by creating this fake woman that Te'o online fell in love with. And then that person faked the death of the fake person, and he made a deal about, in interviews, about how hard it was on him to lose this person. And then it became a big cause during the course of his senior year in 2012. So anyway, so he gets catfished by her, and so all of a sudden the legacy media start making stuff up basically about him. Was he involved? And like, if you're going to ask that question, you don't just publicly throw that out there. Was he involved? What did he do? You go and find out. That's what our jobs are. And instead, they just sort of threw it out there. He had no, was he naive? Absolutely. What should he have, been more, suspicious? Of course. But, he was a victim. And instead, they just started creating questions about his complicity. And, that's the kind of thing that was the exact opposite of what Deadspin's article was designed to remind media members, that it's a good idea to maybe do the actual reporting before you make up your mind about something.
Well, and
it did. Boy, I hate to say this after the fact, but Manti Te'o, I'm like, dude, come on. How do you not ever? You can't go that long and not physically see somebody. And I know that there were some things that they did, but you just can't go that long and not physically see a person. It's crazy. It's just too.
Well, I mean, like I said, he obviously was naive, and don't get me wrong. I mean, but that's what happens with people who are victimized. I mean, Dr. Phil is on right before the local news here on the NBC affiliate in Indy, and he's done at least 5 shows in the last years of women who have fallen for the same type of scam. Although in these,
well, he had he had
the perpetrator of this.
Oh, what's that guy's name, Ronnie? I can almost Tuiasosopo. Renaya Tuiasosopo.
Yes. And that, so, there are lots of people who get caught up in these sorts of things. And, like I said, I mean, it's his, he should have known, but he didn't know. But he also didn't, he wasn't involved in creating this as a scam. And there were multiple people shown in the documentary that were questioning publicly whether he was involved with no evidence, with no evidence. And that's, I found it kind of ironic that Deadspin did this article to show the media that they're not doing a good enough job. And they said, okay, you think that was something? Watch us now.
Well, and let me just say to this point, and I think you go back to when this all happened, catfishing wasn't really a term that was known, and that wasn't a practice that was well known. I go on Twitter now, and through the course of my career and the job that I do, I would say I've interacted with certain people that you could probably label in loose terms as quote unquote friends. I have no idea if those people are real. I'm probably not going to be devastated, if I don't ever see their tweets again, but I have no idea if they're real. So I can understand back in 2012, something like that, a college age kid who's he clearly, I mean, he had become accustomed to being at Notre Dame, but in the very beginning of that, Mike, he said, I didn't want to go to Notre Dame. I wanted to be at USC. So I can understand, but the way the media spun it, and not to point themselves and say, sorry, we didn't do any research on this, and instead then push the blame on him and make his life more miserable. That was the thing that stood out to me. I think a lot of people, I think they watched it because of the intrigue, but that was an element of how Deadspin was trying to basically say, you guys need to fact check better. And how that was the most interesting aspect of the whole story to me. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. By the way, it's called The Girlfriend Who Didn't Exist, in case you have not seen it. It's 2 episodes, both an hour long, so not a ton of your time.
It's a series of that is on there about different events.
Yeah, but the Te'o thing is those 2 episodes. It ended very abruptly. Yes. I thought the ending was a little odd. I thought they would do a better job of communicating now where Manti is, where Renai is. I think you got a decent idea of where Renai is now in her life, but they really didn't. Other than that, Manti grew a beard and looks really good in it. Very handsome. They didn't really give you much of an idea of what he's up to now, or what happened with his NFL career. Because I don't want to have to scramble to Wikipedia to find out what he's up to now.
Right.
But I did because they just sort of threw the end at you. And while we have you, here's all the other episodes of this. Sports these sports docs we're doing. And one of them I have not seen yet. I heard it's good. It was about the Malice in the Palace. Speaking of Indianapolis, I have not had the chance to see that yet because I think it came out around March. So I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's.
I think I started to watch it and fell asleep and then forgot about it until you reminded me.
I watched it as a diehard Pacers fan from birth. And I still hate Detroit and the Pistons for all of it. So I watched it. I will say that
no one suffered more than Jermaine O'Neal
and Reggie Miller, because they would have won a championship that year. I believe that. But that is a good documentary. It's solid. But if you want more information, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes did a podcast, All the Smoke or Up in Smoke or something along those lines. And
that's Cheech and Chong.
I think it's All the Smoke. I think you're right the first time. I think he's got Cheech right.
But they have a couple on there where they've had Ron Artest, Al Harrington, and some of those guys on there. And I think that those episodes actually do a better job than the documentary. So it's just that's just my 2 cents on it. But it gives some detail about what Jim said, like how Jermaine O'Neal suffered, how they didn't get Reggie a ring, and the stuff that they had to deal with off the court more than just the malice in the palace.
Yep, looking forward to it. Mike's got a piece out on Deshaun Watson right now. You can go read that, and with much more behind that, and much more to come. Always a pleasure, man. Looking forward to it each and every week.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure. We'll see you next week.
The great Mike DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We've got lots more coming up, brought to you by our good friends from Barbara Pop Real Estate Services down in Southern Indiana, Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison County area. Served that area for 3 decades, so they know how to get you in the home you want. Reach out to Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Also, if you're in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience with Remax Realty. She can get you, it could be the difference between you getting the home you want and not. Reach out to her at Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
Hey, so could either one of you all give me kind of what are the 2 major topics you talked about with Mike DeCourcy? I feel like y'all were all over the place, so I couldn't really pinpoint it.
Everything.
I heard Manti Te'o towards the end, but
that was probably the most
catfishing.
The Manti Te'o documentary. The first segment we talked about, okay. I don't know.
Deshaun Watson.
You could probably throw that in there. The first segment we talked about baseball, football, basketball. I don't know that there was a theme.
Okay. I've already got, so on the first segment, Jim talked about the MLB playoff picture again. I've already got that in, so I won't put that in again.
Oh my, that's funny. Tanis, the girlfriend who didn't exist. That sounds like a lot of my friends back in high school. Hell, it sounds like me. I'm just kidding.
She goes to a different school.
Five Lefts blames Notre Dame for having ugly co-eds. Yeah, that's another thing. Are you kidding me? You're a football player at Notre Dame, and you're going online without seeing somebody? That's stupid. It's dumb.
I might have to get Dr. Sam's number.
Who's Dr. Sam? Oh,
here.
You need to go see Dr. Sam Joaquin.
I do need to go see Dr. Sam Joaquin. I'm not even being.
Let's see. Where we go back? Where is? There we go. Here we go.
Good morning, Chronic.
Hey, Chronic, how you doing?
What's happening, gentlemen?
I'm trying to remember the name of them. What's the name of your dental offices?
Sultan of Invisalign. It's right there on this.
That's not the name of his dental offices.
It's not? Okay.
And it's not Sultan, it's Sultan.
Is it Sultan?
The Sultan of SWAT.
The Sultan of Invisalign, get it?
Claremont Lake.
Where have I heard Sultan the pronunciation of that before? Maybe I've just heard people say it wrong, I guess.
Suntan, maybe.
Soul Spa.
Chronic, what's up, brother?
Just another day in paradise.
Someone says Chronic is technically a catfish himself.
That's true.
He kind of is. He kind of is because there's no proof of life.
I beg to differ. I've shook your hand.
No, not for me. I'm talking about for those people.
All right, here we go.
6-1. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. I hope you're having a great day and a good start to your week on this Tuesday. It's a beautiful day out there, at least in central Indiana. Holy cow. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com with me as always. Joined now by our good friend, Chronic Hoosier. How are you, brother?
Glad to be back. What's happening today, fellas?
You know, just as you living the dream, looking out at the beautiful weather, getting to chat with some good folks. So that's always a good time.
Yeah, this is one of those mornings. You ever show up someplace that you're not supposed to be just because it's your normal routine?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I had to do some schedule juggling this week. My son starts his football season, so I had to move some things around, and totally showed up at 8:30 this morning when I had no business being there till 11 o'clock. So things are going great on this end right now.
That's always fun, baby. That's always fun. You know, we were just talking with Mike DeCourcy. One of the things he brought up was, and I had just seen, was there's a series, I think it's on Netflix, but part of it is they have that Manti Te'o catfishing deal from a couple of years ago, the Notre Dame football player who had the girlfriend that didn't exist and died and all that. And it also, but it got me to thinking about some other things like Twitter characters like yourself, like Martha the Mop Lady, who are incredibly entertaining. And you know who I miss the most? I miss him immensely is
fake Coach Wilson.
Nope. Fake Andrew Luck. Captain.
Oh, Captain Andrew Luck.
What was it? Captain Andrew Luck? Was that the Twitter character?
I know who you're talking of. I can't remember his exact handle.
Oh my God.
The Twitter character.
Or he was a general or something. General Luck, maybe?
Yeah, it might have been General.
He was pretty freaking hilarious. I mean, it was just, I followed that account. He would only make like one tweet a week, maybe sometimes two, but it was just always something that just made you laugh or whatever. But the anonymity, but there's yourself, you got Martha the Mop Lady, who are the same, who I put in the same light, who make not a ton of comments, but when they do, it's something that's either funny or whatever it is. But how important is the anonymity to that part?
You know, I have kind of juggled this issue for shoot. I think
especially as long as
years.
Yeah, because it has to get harder.
You know, I think for me personally, you know, when you distill it down to the most basic level, it allows me to take something that, you know, I'm obviously interested in. I'm invested in IU athletics, but it allows me to keep arm's reach from it. You know, I have a lot of conflicts, quite frankly, and I have done all sorts of gymnastics in order to avoid getting entangled in some of those conflicts. And it's nothing nefarious, it's nothing malicious. You know, quite honestly, you can probably trace it a beeline back to Rick Greenspan and his leadership style and the vindictiveness of it, as something that gave me caution when I chose to enter into this space, recognizing that, my expression of opinion could have a very dramatic and damaging impact on not just my profession, but of those around me and those that I care for, through no fault of their own, I should add. And it was something that, it's a pseudonym. It's a pen name. Um, I have never ever hidden behind it to hide anything other than that, which I just don't personally feel like sharing. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm out here sharing state secrets and doing it to avoid responsibility. It's not like I'm out here compromising game plans or personnel files or anything. And it's something I've always kind of laughed at because, I think it has been threatening to some people that I'm allowed to say what I want without, being personally accountable for it. I'm accountable to it with every single person that knows me. And, like yourself, Jim, there's quite a few people in this town that know me and know who I am and what I do. And I am very, very accountable for what I say. And, Lord knows I've said some really stupid things, and I've said some things that were wrong, and I've always tried to be accountable to that, and I've always tried to acknowledge and stand up for it. But the irony has always been that, I am treated or have been over the years, as something to be afraid of, as something to be cautious of, which I've always thought is kind of funny because for what? What have I compromised? I really don't. Personally, I just use it as a way to engage in the space and not have to carry that baggage around with me all the time, or get myself or my wife or some of my family members fired because somebody has a vendetta against an opinion I have. And I think where a lot of this gets lost is, when you're talking about sports, you're talking about public figures for the most part. And obviously the lines get a little bit blurred when you're dealing with amateur athletics. But at the end of the day, they're public figures. And as in our society, public figures are open to criticism, to commentary, to even ridicule. That's what happens when you're in the public space. They do not enjoy the necessary privacy that's afforded to regular, ordinary citizens. And I think with that right comes responsibilities. And I try to be responsible with what I say. I also try to keep it light, and I will always issue a caveat. You're free to disagree with anything I ever say. You don't have to follow. You don't have to listen. You don't have to talk about it. That's your right. But this is the lane I suppose I've chosen, as has Martha and some other folks. It certainly allows me perhaps to be a little more loose than what I may otherwise. It certainly allows me to engage with you guys when maybe I'm not in the clearest of mind. But you know what? It's what you get. It's the same conversation that you and I would have if we were bellied up to the bar at Yogi's or driving down the road listening to a game on the radio. I've always tried to be truthful to myself and to the subjects that we're talking about. But at the end of the day, it's a choice I made because, quite honestly, I listen to enough outside stuff on here. I don't need it when I go into the workplace.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask, because for me, I actually just took down my Twitter for the time being because it can be so toxic at times. But one of the things I wanted to ask is if you ever come under scrutiny or fire or there's criticism, is it easier for you to kind of separate and say, they're mad at this character. They don't know who I am. Like, is that easier, or does it still get to you? Like, one of the things I think that bothers a lot of people in our profession is a lot of the criticism that we catch. Sometimes obviously very fair. Sometimes, it's everybody, somebody's upset with, well, I can't help that Indiana got beat, by Michigan State. That's not me. You're taking out your anger on that. But is it easier for you to kind of separate yourself from the Twitter sphere and say that's I know it's really you, but it's also a character, as opposed to if you were really putting your name on it and putting your image out there?
Oh yeah, it's I've seen it firsthand, and I'm not gonna lie, I have not so proudly been a part of it where I've gone after people, and it can be a very vicious space
Mm-hmm.
when you've got people coming, after your family members, you've got people going directly to your
Yeah.
employer, coming for your job. I'm not even going to get into names, but I've had credential media members try to get me fired from a job that I don't even have, from an
Wow.
employer that I've never been affiliated with. Um, it's ridiculous. It really is. And all for usually just a difference of opinion, and
Yeah.
again, if I say something that's factually incorrect, I am open to real time fact checking. I would rather be right than feel right about situations, and have no problem whatsoever owning up to it when I'm wrong. And Lord knows I'm wrong quite often enough. But what we've seen is when people disagree with an opinion, the way in which they try to personalize that and they try to weaponize that.
Yeah.
As you see in the Monte Teo documentary, it's a crazy, crazy world online right now, and the boundaries between online and real life and how those intercede are, quite frankly, it can be horrifying. And I would be mortified if my wife ever lost her job because of something stupid I said in the middle of an IU game that somebody didn't like.
Right.
And Lord knows we all have a digital paper trail of all the things we've said, done, places we've been, and whatnot. And in this day and age, there's far too many people with far too little or too much time on their hands that will comb through anything and everything you've ever said and try to use it against you. So I have certainly, and I've been criticized by some of those that are close to me for maybe not being as forthcoming as what perhaps I used to be back in the day. Um, and recognizing that we all evolve, we all grow up, we all mature a little bit, and we all come to look at things a little bit differently with additional experience. And recognizing what it is we're talking about, or at least what I come here to talk about, and that's usually just IU athletics or Bloomington as a whole, or just life. And I get criticized for what I choose to talk about, not just what I don't talk about. And the thing for me is that's my choice. It's my page. You don't have to follow. You don't have to listen. You don't have to agree. No differently than I have no right to get on your feed and tell you what you should or shouldn't be saying. When we put it out there and we set our profiles to public, we certainly were open up to it. And I've looked at, I've tossed around either deleting my Twitter, locking it, doing whatever, because as you mentioned, it can be extraordinarily toxic. At the end of the day, though, I've tried to maintain a balance where, I take the good with the bad and recognize, the block button's there for a reason. I don't use it I don't use it probably as often as I should. But at the end of the day, when you prove that you're just an insufferable a-hole, there comes a point where I'm going to choose that I don't need to listen to you anymore. But I personally enjoy the engagement, both good and bad, because I feel like it gives me a breadth of opinion that maybe helps focus some of my thoughts back towards a consensus rather than just what particular corner I may be sitting in.
So as we get closer and closer, man, to football season that's in the air, the weather's in the air. Week 0 is this week, as a matter of fact. Illinois will take on Wyoming, so we will get to have a look-see at the Illini and Brett Bielema's team, as will Tom Allen and that staff, so they'll be breaking that tape down all week. So looking forward to actually college football this week. What is the entire schedule? Well, week 0. Let's see. I know that, like I said, I just mentioned Illinois taking on the Illini, or the Illini taking on Wyoming. Who else is playing in this week? Dustin, man, we got
Nebraska, Northwestern, Vanderbilt, Hawaii.
Nebraska Northwestern's in Ireland. Nebraska Northwestern's in Ireland.
Yep.
If you're going to send 2 Big Ten teams to Ireland to represent this and why do you send 2 of the worst teams in the league?
Well, first off,
I know Nebraska has a big name.
They travel extremely well, and Nebraska was going to be part of it last year. And I think part of now I don't know how it comes to play in the Northwestern aspect, but I know last year they needed somebody basically to surrender a home game, and Illinois last year was willing to do that, and I think Northwestern is doing it this year. I can't be for sure if that's going to be a home game for Nebraska or Northwestern, but it basically comes down to Nebraska was always going to be part of it. It was finding a Big Ten partner when they initially wanted to do this, who was willing to give up a home game. And Illinois was the choice in 2021. That game didn't happen because of the still pandemic concerns. And then this year it transitioned into Northwestern. So they were supposed to play Nebraska at home. They're surrendering a home game so they get to play in Ireland. That's basically what it boils down to.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching it, I guess. It'll be very, very interesting. But that's one of the matchups on Saturday at 12:30. You've got UNLV taking on the Indiana Daily Student. Illinois and Wyoming, like I said, UConn, USU, nothing big. Florida State, Duquesne, FAU and Charlotte, and North Carolina, FMU. So nothing big on or they all the games are on Saturday, Chronic.
Yep.
So there's quite a few. So maybe let's see anything big. There's got to be a big game. Come on, Tennessee, Ball
There's
State.
not.
Are you kidding me? There's not. Why have week 0 if all these games are going to suck? You're giving certain teams a leg up. Is all you're doing.
It's kind of like the icebreaker weekend where you just dip a toe into it. I mean, quite honestly.
It's all about money, brother.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is, though. That's why we're kicking the season off on a Friday night. Quite honestly,
Well,
it's a time slot that you can fill with a lot of high dollar commercials and hopefully attract some eyeballs and step all over the high school sector. But it is what it is, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm super stoked to have a Friday night game. Just because we don't get to do it that often, quite frankly. And, from a selfish standpoint, it leaves me all a Saturday to go do other things, not IU football related, which is certainly a rarity. But, it's one of those where for your kickoff weekend, it's something that's just outside the norm enough that it makes it interesting, even though the opponent's Illinois. I don't really care who IU's playing at this point. I'm just excited to get back to Memorial Stadium, to get back to the tailgate fields and, see all the familiar faces and the sights and the sounds and just to get back into that. And if you want to throw in some nightlights, a winnable game, a winnable conference game to start the season, I'm all for it. And, I'm not even going to lie. I haven't even looked at this weekend's calendar because all I know is this is the last week without IU football in it. And I'm happy to get to this point. Excited to see what it's going to look like. Lord knows there's been a lot of secrecy around the Hoosiers up to this point. And, I've seen a lot of mockery, a lot of people debating the benefits of it. At this point, I really don't care. IU needs every advantage they can get going into this season. We all know what's at stake from a momentum standpoint, from a program perception standpoint. Whatever it takes. I don't care if we don't learn the starter until literally the very first snap of the game. I know that's not going to be the case, but just put the best product possible out on the field, execute as best you can, and let's see where the chips fall when it's all over. And hopefully come Saturday morning, Indiana football fans are still excited about the remaining 11 plus games on the schedule.
Yeah, I've said numerous times now. I've kind of, really, I completely get the secrecy, and I don't care who the starting quarterback. You know what? Right now, I don't give a rat's butt who the starting quarterback is. I don't care that I don't know who the starting quarterback is right now. I'll know when the game starts, and that's all that matters. A, but B, I've got a pretty good guess, but it's a guess, and it is just that, a guess. But you know what? Why we don't need to know. We want to know, but we don't need to know. And I don't care. I really don't. I really don't care up until that point. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I get it. I would do the same thing if I were Tom Allen because of the importance of this game. And this game it's one of the most important games he's had as a head coach. I believe because of what it can lead to from a positive or a negative standpoint.
Yeah, I mean this is huge. This is a big season for Tom Allen. It's a big season for Indiana football. It's a big opening game, and we can say this every year when it comes to Indiana football, knowing just how razor thin the margins are. I think in light of the disappointment of last season, however, in light of the arc they had been on up until that point, I think it's really important that they have the opportunity to change the narrative right off the jump. Because Lord knows Indiana football fans can be a little fatalistic, myself included, when it comes to the ups and the downs of Hoosiers football. But I still believe there's enough talent on this team that they can be competitive, that they can become, a perennial bowl team. All that said, I very much felt that way last year, and we know how that turned out. So I certainly can't fault anybody for heading into the season with a little bit of extra caution going into it. But I mean, quite honestly, if you're going to draw up an opportunity for Indiana to really get some momentum going to start the season, you'd be hard pressed to come up with a better early slate of games for Indiana to figure out who they are and what they're made of and what they're going to be about, and iron some things out before they get into the meat of the Big Ten season, because we all know what a grind it is, particularly in the East, year in, year out. And, I like the fact that Illinois gets to go out a little bit before us, so we get some tape. We're no longer looking at tape of us playing us. We have assignments, we have marks, people have a game plan. And, you can make the argument that it gives Illinois a little bit extra time to, shake out some rust and to get the jitters out of the way. But you know what? I think this sets up perfectly for Indiana, and hopefully they're able to execute, because, I posted the line last week, and it was remarkable to see what some of the responses to it were, as far as people's disbelief that Indiana should be considered a home favorite against any big team or Big Ten team at this point. Illinois is a 9-point favorite next week against Wyoming. When they come to Indiana next week, where's the line here? I haven't checked it here in a couple of days. It looks like the Hoosiers are still sitting at 4.5-point favorites. So this is a winnable game for Indiana, and it's a game that I think can set the table at least for the remainder of September, and hopefully get some tailwinds moving in the right direction once October and the heart of the Big Ten season starts.
Yeah, and Chronic, real quick, it sounds like you're a big tailgater, so I got to ask this question. It's let's say it's mid-October, early November. You got a good tailgate going on. You're going to make a pot of chili. Are you putting mushrooms in that pot of chili, as Jim does?
The fungus is not among us, at least not in my chili pot.
Oh my goodness, I am so.
And I'll say this. So here's the thing. I am a big fan of chilies. I love chili as a tailgating option. I'm also married to a vegetarian of over 30 years. So chili is an option that we can very easily split in half, make a meat pot, make a veggie pot. Now, yeah. I'm from the school where I'm not a big bean guy. No fungus, no legumes. I'm okay with it, but if I'm making my own recipe, I'm going to skip the beans too. I just want the meat and the heat. And some onions and some cheese and a little bit of sour cream maybe. And then you're going to put it on every other thing that's on your tailgate table. I don't care if it's, you got chips, you got hot dogs, Doritos. I don't care. Put it on your veggie tray. Chili makes everything on your tailgate table better. But I'm also a big fan of the low hassle tailgate options. I know there's some high level tailgate cooks out there. I love to party with them. But when I'm doing the preparation, I want it to be as easy as possible. Something that I can just, whether we pre-make it, warm it up when we get there, throw it in the crock pot, turn it on, and don't even worry about it for the rest of the day. So, but it's also something that's going to be seasonally appropriate. People that try to break out chili in 90-degree weather. Yeah, I'm going to question your sensibilities.
Well, brother, I appreciate you as always. Looking forward to it. And next time we talk, we'll be previewing Indiana and the Illini, as week 1 will be upon us.
Game week edition. I cannot wait.
It's here, baby. It's here. Looking forward to it, Chronic.
Looking forward to catching you guys next week. Have a good one.
You betcha. Chronic Hoosier joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Feast Market and Cellar, a part of the WOW Club. Make sure you go there and sign up. But, of course, Feast Market and Cellar, located next door to Southern Stone Restaurant on Patterson and Rogers, offering an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff because they take their pairing seriously. For you. They also provide mouthwatering and wide varieties of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, coffee bar, bread, and pastries. Make sure you stop in. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting
Dustin, how long do you think you're going to take a break from Twitter, or are you just going to kind of play it by ear?
Probably play it by ear. I would prefer to not be on there at all, to be quite honest with you. There's no.
That's how I am too. I wish I didn't have to use it.
I don't know that I have to use it anymore. I just find myself sitting there scrolling, I could be reading a book, I could be writing, doing something productive with my life. It adds I don't like to get into the mindset where I have to get likes, I have to get retweets, I have to get followers, and that's the mindset I'm in. So if I decide that I can break myself of that habit, then I will return. If not, then I will just stay off.
Not a bad idea. If I ever have a job where I don't have to use Twitter, I'll probably do the same thing.
I tell you, one of my best friends from high school got on there, and he was probably on it for 2 or 3 weeks. And he's like, dude, I got to get off this. I'm arguing with people over like episodes of The Sopranos and stuff. I'm like, yep, that's Twitter. It's like, it was just the most pointless arguing. I'm like, yeah, that is what happens.
All right, here we go.
financing for well-qualified buyers on all 2017 through 2021 Honda certified pre-owned Accords, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday. There's nothing you can do about it. It's going to be that way all day. Tanis on the Andy Moore Honda hotline says he grilled chicken quarters, brats, and there's always a pot of chili to be found when the grass is frosty in the mornings. Yeah, we got talking about chili again there at the end. Someone mentioned chili.
I'm a big fan of this chicken quarters and brats. That sounds like a good tailgate to me.
Yeah. Chicken fingers are always great, man. But I love it. I love it. But see, all right, hot dogs. I've been buying these. I forget what they call them, but they're Nathan's #1. But they're those big old fatties, and they're actually longer than the bun, so it always sticks out over the bun, which stinks. I'm like, if you're gonna make the hot dog, make the damn bun.
Right.
It's like
Right.
It's like, why is it they would sell hot dogs in packs of 10, but buns in packs of 8?
Right. I think they've remedied that now, haven't they?
Some have, some haven't. But anyway, I buy those big old honkers, man, and it's a meal, brother. When I go to get one, I got a process. I got the onions already chopped up. I've got my banana peppers. And then I just put it in the microwave and heat it up. And then I slice a big old slice down the middle of it, open it up, throw in my onions and my banana peppers, throw the mustard on top, throw it in the bun upside down, keep it all in there, baby.
That sounds good.
Booyah.
I'd do that. Do you know what I saw last night? And I don't know if this happened last night or if it just resurfaced. But I think it was at the Yankees-Mets game. It was definitely a Yankees fan.
Oh, who won that game?
The
Yankees. The Yankees did.
Did they? Good. That'll help the Braves in that race. And the Yankees should take down K-Bro's Mets here in the 2-game series. I think it's a 2-game series. But last night I saw a guy have a hot dog, bunless hot dog, beer. He took a straw. He hollowed out the inside of this hot dog and used the hot dog as a straw for his beer.
Say that one more time.
He had a hot dog, a bunless hot dog, bought a beer. He took a straw, hollowed out the inside of the hot dog, submerged the hot dog in the beer, and used the hot dog as a straw for his beer.
Why?
Right? Because he's a crazy person. That's the only explanation.
Where was this?
I think it was at the Yankees game. The guy was wearing a Yankees hat.
It's in New York. All right, there you go. Let's see. Some talk on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Ross says he'll be curious to see the attendance for the Illini game. Well, me too. I hope it's good. To be honest with you, I'd like to see him start out well. It's just a lot more fun for all of us. And Jennifer says she's trying to decide if she's going or getting rid of her tickets. Jennifer, it's a Friday night under the lights. What are you kidding me? It's a night game. It's a conference game. It's a season opener.
Hey, look at it this way. I mean,
Jesse says going to be a great tailgate season. Don't go into the game. Total buzzkill. All right, now see. All right, right there. I've got a problem with that, Jesse. Dude, that's the reason you're there. Part of the reason you're there. Tailgating's part of it. Hanging with friends, getting to do all that. That's the fun of it. And then, going into the game. Yes, you need to go into the game. You know, the team you're supporting, whoever they are, they work their ass off. They work their ass off for that. So go support them. I mean, that's the one thing that I said this before, Indiana fan, I've covered, I graduated from IU, but I've worked in TV media all over the place. I've covered Kentucky. I've covered lots of different places. When Kentucky sucked in football, their fans still showed up. They still made a party. They still went out and had fun. And it would just be nice to see that. I mean, man, come
look at it this way. You're probably not going to be. This is the most optimistic, the most fan excitement there's going to be, maybe all season, depending on how this game turns out. It's like that cautious optimism, but everybody's excited. It's a winnable game. You don't know what's going to happen after week 1, so go in, enjoy yourself, and then let the chips fall where they may as the rest of the season unfolds. Just get there. The night game is you go there early. You can tailgate for what time do the parking lots open? Probably 8 or 9. You could probably tailgate for 10 or 11 hours and then go into the game.
Let's see. Tim had some brats and kraut at Schnitzelbach at Jasper over the weekend. That's right, man. You got to get the grills out, man. You got to start making it happen. I don't know what he's talking about. You said something that was gross, apparently, Dustin.
The beer, the hot dog beer.
Oh, yeah. That's just dumb. Oh, you know what? That's the beginning of a Jeff Foxworthy joke.
There you go.
You might be a redneck if you hollow out a hot dog with a straw to use the hot dog as a straw.
That is a good. You might be a redneck joke. I like that. By the way, I'm not a big fan. Do you see? Here's another one. This is not nearly the extreme, but a lot of people dip their Wendy's French fries into the Frosty. I can't do that. I think it's gross. But that seems to be a common thing. I've seen a lot of people do it, especially when I lived in Indiana.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Who the hell is putting French fries in ice cream?
I'm telling you, it was a big thing. When I can't do it. I tried it. It's not good.
Where?
When I lived in Indiana, I saw it frequently.
Where?
He's not making it up. I've seen people do it.
See? John is with me on this. I mean, all over the state. I traveled a lot as
that is not.
I think I've seen, not to throw my mom under the bus, but I think I've seen my mom do it.
That's not an Indiana thing.
I'm just saying I saw it more there. It doesn't happen as much. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't go out to fast food restaurants nearly as much since moving to Florida, Georgia, and then back to Florida. So it may still be a thing all over the place. Thank you, Mike. It is a thing.
LA reporter David, whoever that is, Vasich cracks ribs and bone in wrist after sliding down Brewers mascot.
Oh yeah,
Bernie.
I
Brewers
saw that
slide before the game.
Yep.
Well, how unathletic do you have to be to hurt yourself that badly on a freaking slide?
I don't know. I don't know if the padding wasn't up or what, but the video was, I mean, he slammed into that wall.
Now that could be a potential lawsuit. There was a lawsuit going on down in Louisville by a sports anchor that actually is my mentor, Fred Calgill. It's where I started at WLKY, the CBS station in Louisville. He's suing Trinity High School because during a game this year, he was, while filming on the sideline, got hit.
It was last year, just to clarify.
Last year, rather, my bad. He got hit, and hurt his knee, and suing the school, which I have to say is a little odd. I don't understand. It seems strange to me. I don't know the whole situation. I haven't talked to Fred, so I don't know the whole situation. It does seem a little strange, but it seems like that could be very, 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 very dangerous for all of media, not just in high school, but I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know the whole situation, so I'll reserve my comment for this. But what I can say is the reporter who did the Brewers thing, he did that willingly. Like he signed up to go down that slide. They didn't force him, so that would be on his own accord. But I mean, you can sue for anything these days, so I would not be surprised.
Yeah. Getting back to the fries thing, we have to take a break, I guess. John's telling me. Let's do that real quick. Reynolds Family Dentistry. Don't forget about them. You need that championship smile. If you're down in Southern Indiana, Sellersburg, Dr. J, go see him today. He'll take care of you and send you on your way. How about that? We're back with more. Dustin, Schutte, and myself, Jim Coyle, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting,
that might be the best live read you've ever done.
Making history. My nose itches. A lot of schools are using waivers now because of that. Huh.
Is it what? Oh, so Trinity released something like a warning, like, hey, if you attend this game, you must sign this, whatever, because of that.
Yeah. Of course. I'm surprised that's not that way everywhere now.
It might be. It's probably just a start.
Well, here's what's going to happen. In the equine business, there is a law, at least in this state, that you just put up that says the equine industry is an inherently dangerous business. And you are taking a known risk.
Right.
The owner of this facility, yada, yada, is not responsible for any injuries or accidents. Bam. That used to be that started going up in every arena we went to. Because like when we were rodeoing, what the hell happens in rodeos a lot of times? Some injuries, and it ain't to the freaking animals. While people are always talking about that, it ain't the animals getting hurt. Let me tell you.
Right.
But our YouTube audience is disappointed that we haven't had all the drama in between segments today.
Not every day can be a Charlie Chaplin show.
I remember whenever I first started doing this, I always wondered, I'm like, why do we talk about the things that we talk about while we're quote unquote in break?
The people love it.
Like when Jim said the F word every 5 seconds during his remote. That was Dustin, you had to mute yourself. It was so funny.
I mute myself. Yep.
Jim who?
You.
When?
Last Friday.
Was I mad?
Yeah, you couldn't get your stuff to work or whatever was wrong with it. I can't remember what it was, but
yeah, somebody made the comment, "Don't say the F word, Jim." And then everybody chimed in like, too late.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday, and it's gorgeous. Hope you've got a good day planned and a good start to it going on. I am looking forward to week 0. Another game now next Thursday, when things really kick off in week 1, you've got Thursday games, but you'll have Big Ten games. There's actually 2 on Thursday, but only 1 counts. Minnesota is playing New Mexico State, it looks like, so no one really cares about that. But Purdue, on the other hand, is hosting the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, that's a huge game.
Big game. That's really big for Purdue because it's going to be a tough game. It's a tough match over. Penn State not ranked though. So Not sure where they are, although they have a 4-year quarterback. Very odd for a team to have that much of a veteran quarterback in your backfield and to not be ranked. Right. Sean Clifford, the guy that seems like he's been there forever, played high school against Peyton Ramsey. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. And what I'm looking forward to watching, that's the only, decent game that I see.
That's a huge game. 8 p.m. on Fox. It's going to be. I think that's going to be vindicative of how it's going to be more of how Penn State season goes. If they win, I think that they've got a shot to be near the top of the Big Ten East. If they lose, obviously, then even though he signed a massive contract, people are going to be very upset with James Franklin. But just real quick, before more into that, there is a level of intrigue for that New Mexico State Minnesota game. And that is, I believe Jerry Kill is now the head coach at New Mexico State. He was formerly at Minnesota. There's a little bit of bad blood between he and PJ Fleck too. So that's It's not the most intriguing matchup on paper, but there is a personal element to that game. So some reason to watch.
Why is there a personal element?
Because Jerry Kill used to coach at Minnesota, and he and PJ Fleck had a falling out a few years ago.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I did
Jerry
not know that.
Yeah, Jerry Kill went on some radio show. I don't know if it was national or in Minnesota, and said he roots for the Gophers. He hopes those kids play well, but he's not about PJ Fleck. He thinks PJ Fleck is about himself. And
a lot of people have that opinion. A lot of people have that opinion.
So
he just seems a little fraudulent.
But,
I mean, him and Tom Allen are very seriously, but I think Tom Allen comes across a lot more sincere.
Well,
Fleck seems more car salesman like to me.
Yeah, but so see, I disagree with people on this. I think he and Tom Allen are
good.
I think he and Tom Allen are the same. Look, and the message is not for people you and me. That message is for 18-year-old kids to 22-year-old kids. The thing I would say is PJ Fleck has been in the Big Ten West title race twice. They won 11 games in 2019. They won 9 games last season. Muhammad Ibrahim, one of the best running backs in the Big Ten, probably the country, returned. Tanner Morgan, another longtime starting quarterback, returned. Kirk Straka, former offensive coordinator, returned. And they frequently have the school or the football team has the highest GPA among athletic programs, is frequently in that conversation. You don't get that unless those kids are bought in. I think I understand the car salesman type of analogy, but I think he's a genuine person. It's just not something you're going to sell a 30 or 40-year-old on. That's just not who it's intended for. That's my opinion of it. Every time I've talked with both Tom Allen and PJ Fleck, they both come across as very genuine people. They're just a little bit different approach than your typical Jeff Brom, Ryan Day, go by the book, not say anything controversial, not get too excited one way or the other. That's just kind of how those guys are. So I think it's just because those two guys are very different in what their approach is.
Did you, there was a man, we need to talk about this tomorrow too, because we can't talk about it very long now. I saw a piece. Did you see the guy who they said, the nobody who broke the Big Ten UCLA USC story?
Yeah.
Very cool. Is he even a reporter?
I don't think so. I have not read that story yet, but I think he's just an average. I don't mean this in an insulting way. I think he's just an average Joe kind of guy who had an inside source and inside knowledge.
And this apparently was being broken months before.
Yes.
And people were just not listening.
Well, I mean,
I never saw it, obviously.
I didn't see it either. I mean, I had always heard of rumblings since basically the Texas-Oklahoma thing. I had heard rumblings that USC and UCLA were going to join. I never thought that this was a major surprise moment. But apparently he had a source and he was reporting that it was going to be a done deal.
Well, but more importantly, after the fact, he told the details of how it all happened. It was USC that led this thing. It was USC that reached out to the Big Ten. And so there's a lot of stuff there to read.
Right.
And so, it was, there was a lot going on for a while. This was over a period of months. This stuff was happening.
Right.
There was stuff going on back behind the scenes, as there usually is. But when you actually find out the rest of the story, Paul, I'm Paul Harvey. Good day. Boy, you got to be only the older folks in the audience will get that one.
You know how I also know that is because I had a guy, he's now the managing editor at Saturday Tradition, who took over, but I worked with him. His name is Paul Harvey.
Boy, that would be a great name to have in radio, especially. Hello, I'm Paul Harvey. Well, we've about run out of time today. A big thanks to Mike DeCourcy, of course, from the Sporting News, Chronic Hoosier as well. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com, as always, back tomorrow. With us will be the man, Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. I cannot believe it's Tuesday already. That means Kyle Nedenrip as we get ready for week 2 of Indiana high school football. Get out of here. And the Hall of Famer, Rick Bozich, the White Sox. Have Rick Bozich on as well. Looking forward to it as always. It's starting to go too fast.
Yep. And
we haven't even gotten to the season, so I'm afraid that once the season hits, it's just going to be running out of time all the time. And we haven't even had as many guests on as normally. So I'm like, daggone it. I wish the show was 3 hours, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. Got to get out of here. Appreciate you guys. Big thanks to everyone. Like I said, come back tomorrow, do it again. Spread the word. Hit the like button if you're on YouTube. Please sign up for us and give us a follow on Twitter as well. At Jim Coyle ISB and at Shooty Sports. For everybody, I am Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.